So when we prepared a Sicha for publication that the Rebbe would look at, the Rebbe wouldn't look at it if we didn't structure it properly. The ones that the Rebbe liked most were the ones that were the most completely rewritten. The Rebbe wanted us not to just write down what he said word for word in a Fabrengen, because speaking and publishing is not the same thing. I'll give you an example. When I started writing Fabrengens, I was so careful. The Rebbe would start a Fabrengen very often like this: "Vos hainti Shabbos Pashas Kerach." Those words. So you write down "Vos hainti Shabbos Pashas Kerach." Is not, you can't write a sentence "Vos." It would be like writing in English. Okay, now is Shabbos Pasha Kerech. You don't write, okay, now is Shabbos Pasha Kerech. You write, today is Shabbos Pasha Kerech. But I was so careful, but the Rebbe said, Vos came out of his mouth. Maybe, it's a divine words, which it is. But everyone was telling me, and then the Rebbe himself attacked it. Wrote to me once on a Hanocha, I prepared, Hanocha Milulis, Mamash Kamay HaTape. So you think it's a compliment. The Rebbe is saying you're like a tape recorder. You said it exactly, but the Rebbe wouldn't edit it because it was too literal. So you had to realize that published words, it required some effort from us to structure it, and that's where it becomes more complicated. Why? Because it's not just about adding commas and periods. Sometimes the Rebbe would start an Inyan, and you see it says in Torah, and it's obvious you have to quote the whole piece, even though the Rebbe didn't say the whole piece. And this was not our own thinking. The Rebbe insisted on this. You know how many notes I got from the Rebbe? Hundreds. We were saying, how do you quote a half a Torah? The Rebbe only said in the Fabrengen half the Torah. That's not how it works. So this gets controversial because someone will say as a chassid in his kashrus, what do you mean? How could you add one word the Rebbe didn't say? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, but that's Torah Sheba'al Peh. That's not Torah Shebiksav. So when we prepared a Sicha for publication that the Rebbe would look at, the Rebbe wouldn't look at it if we didn't structure it properly. The ones that the Rebbe liked most were the ones that were the most completely rewritten, different than the way he said it. Different, I mean, in the style, not the teichen. I'm not talking about now the themes and the ideas. So let's talk about now controversial topics. Okay, let's take one. Beis Rabbeinu Sheba Bavel. So it was Pashas Shlach, Choches Sivan. If you look in the original Sicha, it's one paragraph, but it became a whole kunter. It's called Beis Rabbeinu Sheba Bavel, which the Rebbe was Magia. And it says a lot of controversial things there, and a lot of powerful things. And now it's Muge, and it's holy, because the Rebbe was Magia. There's no question that it is the Rebbe's edits on it, and he accepted it. Now, something is Muge. It's just as if the Rebbe said it. So I have no problem. The Rebbe looked at it, he edited it, he added, he subtracted. It is what it is. How we understand it? Listen, people could, just like everything in Torah, you could have different ways to understand a Sicha. We don't have to be afraid of ambiguity.
Was there ever a case where something went in and it came back the same way and then got printed?
There was always some touching. It was always some edits. It was never exactly. Sometimes small edits, but there was always something edited. Now the Rebbe crossed out things too. Look, Chayesara, Tov Shenun Beis. Everyone quotes that. It's the one that Eifenam Eskabel. Okay, that's Sicha. So the end there, and I wrote it because I remember vividly. So the Rebbe was speaking like, that was the Sicha where he said that now the Veda is, the Shlichus the Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach. Whatever that means. And then the Rebbe went on to explain what means Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach in different ways and so on. Okay. So at the end, there's like a Hira B'Pel. What is Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach? What are you supposed to do? Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach is a very broad term. There's so there's the end, there's the last page, the Rebbe speaks the Hira B'Pel. So in one of the places it says, I don't remember the exact lashon, but the teichen is that to definitely lilmud inyan gula Mashiach. That was always the rule. But there it says, what should you learn? So to learn Nigla Chassidus, including who Mashiach is. That's how it said it. Now, but if I bring in, it wasn't. The Rebbe, did he say that lashon exactly? I don't know, but but it had to be spelled out because the Rebbe said to learn about Mashiach and so on. And so, in order to get clarity, I wrote it out in full glory, so the Rebbe could decide how he wants to do it. And I just left it as it is. And the Rebbe crossed out who is Mashiach, and he changed the whole paragraph. He wrote to learn Teresh B'Ksav and Teresh B'Al Peh, and Teresh Chassidus maybe, about Amar Chazal, about Rambam, about the Yoni Mashiach and stuff like that. So there you see clearly this is Tov Shenun Beis. The Rebbe wanted to edit something, he edited it. It wasn't like nothing slipped through, God forbid. It wasn't like the Rebbe was like Makivdik looking at it. He looked at it, and what he wanted to cross out, he crossed out. That what he left meant he wanted it there. What's the maskana from this paragraph? So the so-called anti-Mashiachistan try to use it, as you see. The Rebbe says not to learn who Mashiach is, because he crossed it out. The Mashiachistan have their own interpretation. I don't see any problem. First of all, the fact that the Rebbe crossed it out doesn't mean that you can't tell people Mashiach. It's just saying, as so-called the Hera of the Rebbe, the Tzivui of the Rebbe, how to learn in Yom Mashiach, is the close Inyan. He's not getting into that thing, and that's not like Mukhrich, so to speak. But that doesn't mean that they can't do it. It doesn't mean it doesn't help. And doesn't. You understand what I'm trying to say? When it came to the Mashiach and Yonim, I could tell you my approach was absolutely stick exactly to what the Rebbe said. Don't add, don't subtract, because I knew that this is going to have implications forever. And you see that till today people argue about it. So if you're arguing anyway, you might as well argue in exactly the way the Rebbe said it. Like, for example, the Rebbe said the words that we already finished polishing the buttons. Only the Rebbe could say something like that. We can't go ahead and embellish on that.
Of course not.
So if you look at the edits of the Rebbe and all these sichos, here I'll tell you some edits that some people don't like to hear about. Every time it said the Nasi Adar is Mashiach, the Rebbe added the Friedrich Rebbe's name. Almost every time. Now, what does that mean? So some people say the Friedrich Rebbe is the Rebbe. But the Rebbe did add.
Okay.
He could have left Nasi Adar as Mashiach Shebadar and let everyone interpret as they wish. But he always would add the Friedrich Rebbe's name. I'm not interpreting it. Anyone can understand what you want. But the Dakasdika thing is that, yes, we did do an effort from our end, and the Rebbe definitely edited. So the Beis Rabbeinu Shabbavel, at the end of the day, is as if the Rebbe said it from my point of view. Makes no difference what my opinion was. Now the Rebbe edited, to me it's as if he wrote it.